Nick, let's start with you. Looking at the showdown, who are you going to captain?
Man, this is really tough. I think KD is worth a shot. I think he's still the highest floor player that Team USA has to offer, even in a game that could very easily get out of hand, as early as maybe the first or second quarter. Iran, against Czech Republic in its first game, was able to make that final score fairly respectable with a huge fourth quarter, but Iran was down 20, 30 plus for a lot of that second half. And it would not be a surprise if this one goes in line with the spread. So when you're picking a captain and really when you're selecting the rest of your roster in this showdown contest, you kind of have to be grasping at straws to some degree. You're projecting, okay, what happens if Team USA is up 35 in the third quarter? Does KD sit the rest of the way? Do we see more Jeremy Grant? Do we see Team USA pull back on Drew Holiday, who came in hot from the NBA Finals, played a ton of minutes on Sunday morning's game? You kind of have to do your own projections essentially on what you think is going to happen with this roster in a blowout scenario. But at the end of the day, I think KD is still the safest option. But I also like Bam Adebayo, who you can captain at just under $10,000 in this DraftKings showdown. And if you go with Bam, you can virtually build any roster you want around him, given how the salaries play out. And you do have to include one Iranian player. That's going to be somewhat of a crapshoot, but you can pretty much pick and choose whichever USA guys you want if you do go with Bam at the captain spot.
Yeah, Kenny, I guess that kind of becomes the question. If you want the safe pick versus differentiation, who are you captaining?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and request I never do any more segments with Nick because he always steals my thunder with these. Yeah, I am captaining Bam Adebayo at 9.9K. He's a great option here. He's coming off a 34 fantasy point game. And what we learn about international play every time we see it is that the big men just continue to get more and more dominant with the different rules that FIBA has. I think we saw it against France that there's a serious problem here with the U.S. and size. We'll talk about in a second that Iran has a pretty good big man. They're going to want good post defense out there. Adebayo and Drew Holiday are two guys I really like in this showdown because they're the two best defenders on the United States. And I do think that it's going to be important to have them out there. And then I think that also, obviously, we've seen the fact that they can score the basketball and be good offensive players, stuff the stat sheet. I think Bam Adebayo is a lock for a double-double here. And I think that ultimately he's definitely my favorite play for what Nick mentioned. You could put him there and then you can get Kevin Durant. I want Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard in there. I want no part in fading those guys when you consider the fact that they could just, have 50 fantasy point nights each. So Adebayo is the best way to construct your lineup, in my opinion, in the captain spot.